Hi, I'm Richard C. I'm a math tutor at Wyzant, answering this question submitted by a student. It's a pretty strange question. I don't think I've seen anything similar to this one. Um, we first have to get this particular equation in some more friendly shape. So when all else fails, you turn everything into sines and cosines. So for this tangent here, I'm going to replace that with sine over cosine. That's going to give me the sine squared in the numerator and cosine on the denominator. Okay, so I just replaced tangent with sine over cosine times sine. Gives me sine squared over cosine. And then tangent itself is sine over cosine. So now I've got a common denominator going. So I want to kind of keep that going with a common denominator. So I'm going to do 2 sine x cosine x over cosine. See, because it gives me that common denominator. Now these two cosines cancel, and that would bring us back to where we started. Likewise here, I'm going to go cosine squared x over cosine x. If we cancel out this cosine in the numerator, one of those cancels, this goes away, and you're left with where you started. So that's a little more workable. We can multiply both sides now by the cosine of x. And now the denominators disappear, and you're left with sine squared x plus cosine squared x plus sine of x minus 2 sine x cosine x equals 0. Okay, well, sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. So now I'm going to write sine x minus 2 sine x equals -1. And that's about as far as we can take it. So now I'm going to get into my graphing calculator. So for y1, I'll put sine x minus 2 sine x. And for y2, I'll put -1. And I'm going to enter these into my calculator and then see where the intersections occur. And oops, made a mistake there, sorry. Yeah, it's these two terms here, sine x minus 2 sine x cosine x. Cosine x equals -1. Okay. So I put this into my calculator and I look for the intersections and I see 2 intersections. We're only interested in the intersections between 0 and 2 pi, which is roughly 6.3 on your calculator here. And I get 2 answers. We don't have any rounding instructions on this problem, but the first intersection I get is approximately 3.5. And then the other intersection that I get is roughly 4.7. And that's the answer. So it's kind of weird. It involves a little bit of trigonometry, not a whole lot, mostly just some algebra to clean it up enough so that we can put something into our calculator that it's not going to drive us totally insane. You could put this whole thing into your calculator if you wanted to see where it crosses the x-axis, but I think it's better to simplify it first. You never know when you're doing these. Sometimes you can solve them by hand. If the instruction said, give us the exact answer, it would mean that it could be solved by hand. If the instruction said rounded to the nearest hundredth or the nearest thousandth or the nearest tenth, then we would know that we would have to use a calculator. But here I don't see any way to do this by hand. I think the only way to finish it, we can set it up by hand, but the only way to finish it is on the calculator. So I hope that helps with this one. This is a pretty strange one. Okay, that's it for this problem. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.